Hey, yes, it's your girl Ashley, and I'm back with another video. This is Made Holy Ministries, where we're to be holy, just as the Lord Himself is holy. If you guys still hear any noise in the background, please do disregard it, okay? I'm letting y'all know in advance, because there is a little boy, and he's a kitty, okay? I get it. He's a kid. Okay, but I wanted to come before you because I wanted to share with you guys something that I noticed as I was reading the book of Joshua. God told me He wanted me to read the book of Joshua. So now I'm reading it with new eyes, new ears, and reading it in a different version so I could get a different perspective of the word. And just a different revelation, I guess. And God highlighted a specific number, and I feel like the Lord was just like emphasizing who He was, like the type of God that He is, just adding on to His roster, because God is a God of many names, okay? God is a God of many things, okay? And so I'm gonna just give like a little rundown and catch you guys up, and then I'm gonna tell you the point of this message. Okay, so please watch it from the beginning to the end. Don't just skip, because I know some people's retention span is very short. Attention span, I meant to say retention. Attention span is very short. Amen. And so it starts with the Lord commissioning Joshua. He called Joshua to go ahead and lead the Israelites so that they could go ahead and cross over and receive the land for the rest of them, because that was God's promise. Okay, so Joshua goes ahead and tells everybody, prepare your provision, we're going to cross over. But then he tells the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the Manasseh tribe out of the 12, that's 3 tribes out of the 12, to go ahead with them. Now, they already received their portion of land before having to cross over to Jordan. They already received their land. Okay, so cool. But God still tells them, hey, like, I know your wives and your children and your livestock is here, but you still have to cross over. So I'm thinking nothing of it. Okay, cool. So they're going ahead, they're crossing over. You know, God sends the priest, tells Joshua to tell the priest to go before the people. They put their feet in the water. Once they put their feet in the water will dry up so that the people can go ahead and cross over. And so they go ahead and cross over. Then He assigns the Lord, because my attention has been more set on what God is instructing Joshua to do. So then the Lord tells Joshua, to tell the men to pick one man from each tribe to pick a stone for the memorial stone, so that, when people look back at it, they'll ask, what is this memorial stone for? To let them know about the testimony of how the Lord dried up the Jordan River, just as He did the Red Sea. And then after I was done with all of this, I had stopped, because I don't want to just read straight through it, just break it down. And for some reason, the Lord emphasized the number 12, the 12 tribes of Israel. And I was just like, okay, and then He had me thinking, and I was sitting here talking to the Lord. I'm like, God, the 3 first tribes that you gave land to didn't have to go. Like, they could have been like, well, we already received our portion of land. We already received the promise of God for ourselves. We don't have to cross over with y'all. Like, we don't need to go, right? So I'm like, God, they didn't have to, but you purposely let it be known that they needed to, because it wouldn't make sense for there to be 9 tribes and 9 stones. Like, God started with 12. He needed to finish with 12, even though the assignment for 3 of them was already complete. And I think y'all might see where I'm going here. It would not have made sense for God to have started with 12, leave out 3, and then continue with 9. He needed to make sure that though the 3 got their portion, that they still needed to stick it out to the end with the other 9, to make sure that everybody got their portion of land. And I'm just like, okay, but like, why? So what does the number 12 means? And it means many things, but to make it short, it means completeness, divine order, perfection, amongst other things, perfect government, stuff like that. It means completeness. The fact that God allowed me to see, the number 12 was just like 12, and I was just like, and He was trying to emphasize that this is a complete number. It would not have been complete if the 3 tribes didn't come along with the 9. Where do we ever see in the Bible it talks about the 9 tribes of Israel? It doesn't say that. And of course, 9, means fruitfulness and stuff like that, because of the 9 gifts of the fruit of the Spirit. But that's still not the complete number of people. To give another example, with the disciples, Jesus started with 12 disciples. One, of course, betrayed him, was taken away, ended up passing away. And then they needed to pause right there. There was 11. The number 11 itself means disorder. It means chaos. It means judgment. And it also means incompleteness. So that alone already showed that that was not a complete number. But what did they do to complete the number? They ended up casting lots for an extra person to become a part of to make it 12 again, to complete what God started. So the point of this message is the fact that whatever God starts in your life, God will bring it to completion. God will never start something and not finish it. I don't know what it is that God had called you to do. He told you to put your hands in. I don't know. But if he started, it's like with you. If God called you to Christianity, if he called you to be a part of his kingdom, he's going to make sure his true people makes it to the very end. The one that because God knows who's going to make it to glory, who's going to make it to destruction. He knows. It's in his word. If I could remember where I put it here for y'all, he knows who. Is it in Romans? It might be in Romans. But the point of this, like I said, God was emphasizing his character. He is a God of order, completeness, perfection. God will never not start something and not finish it. He will never not say, like, he is the beginning and the end. He is the first and the last. He's the author and the finisher of our faith. So it's that thing that God may have told you to start. It could be the thing he told you to start, that thing that he promised you. If he said it, that's the start of that thing. And the end of that thing would be the manifestation of that thing. If God told you to start something that doesn't look like it's producing or anything like that, to even think about the Gadites, the Reubenites, and the Manasseh, they was probably looking like, this don't make no sense. Like, we already got our portion. We don't need to cross over. It didn't make sense. So that thing that God may have told you to start, it may not make sense, or it might not be producing fast enough. It may not be it may not be moving. I'm not gonna say fast enough. I'm gonna say fast enough in your sight, because God is God, and when something needs to take off, he'll let it take off. It just success doesn't take time, it takes God. Amen. But whatever that thing is, my point is to understand that God will bring it to completion. Don't try to give up because it doesn't make sense, or because it's not producing as quick as you need it to, or it doesn't look like God's in the midst of it. What God started, he will bring it to completion. And I wanted to mention something about the disorder part, because God is a God of order. And I know I'm gonna put the verse here where it says that that God is a God of order, but the other one where it says that wherever that there is disorder, there's all kinds of evil. That would have been out of order if God only allowed 9 of them to continue moving forward. That would have been out of order. Like I said, where have we ever seen the Bible talks about 9 tribes of Israel? Nowhere. And even when there was only 11 disciples, they made sure that they fixed that and added 1. They was casting lots for 2, and then they added 1. Matthias, I think his name was, I'm not sure. All right, but wherever, I feel like, I don't know how to put this. I'm gonna try to put this in the best way possible. And if I confuse myself, I'll just put it at the top. If you feel like there is something that God has told you to do and it seems dysfunctional, there's all kinds of evil in it. And that could be like, oh, there's a good verse for that one too. It could be like starting off with God, starting off by faith, but then trying to perfect it by your own works. That is disorder. It's supposed to start with God and it's going to end with God. You can't start off with God and just try to do it on your own after that. And I'm going to put that verse here somewhere. That's in Galatians, because I had just gave that word to a friend. We would start with God. God would give us something, and then we feel like we need to do it on our own. We would try to perfect it off our own works. And that's disorder. That's all kinds of evil. That's you trying to do your own thing off your own flesh, off your own will, off your own strength. That's dysfunctional. But to add on to it with the perfection part, this makes me think of Noah. When Noah was given an instruction to do, he was given an instruction, he was given an assignment, and he was told to build the ark a specific way, down to the T on how God gave him the instructions. If he had not built it down to the T on how God gave him the instructions, things would have been out of order. It would not have been perfected, and what God had intended for that boat to do would not have been able to stand still. It would not have been able to function how God needed it to function. If he told him to build 3 floors and he only built 2, you're out of order. You're being disobedient. It didn't come out into perfection. God isn't, not saying that we need to be perfect, but to do what he tells us to do perfect. For him to give us instructions, we're supposed to give it back to him completed, perfected, so that whatever the purpose is for it, that it can be completed. I hope that that made sense. So to make it make sense in your perspective, whatever that God is telling you to do, whatever he instructed you to do, you're supposed to do it down to the T so that it could be perfected, so that there is all kinds of order, and he will be ordering your stuff. It is perfected, and it can come into completeness, so that if it needs to produce, it produces to be fruitful, it becomes fruitful, and so on, to not make this video longer than it needs to be, okay? But if it looks like it's out of order, then something you've made, you're not following the instructions down to the T. If it's not perfected, you're just not following the instructions down to the T. And if God told you to do something, do know he's going to bring it to completion, but you don't need to make it add on to it by trying to do it off your own works. You don't have to do it off your own strength. And to literally just know that if he said it, that he would do it. And if he started it, he will finish it. That is all. That is all. I hope I didn't say too much. I hope that this was not confusing. But literally to do what God instructed you to do, and know that even if it doesn't make sense, do it. And whatever the purpose of what he needed it for will come into completion. God is, like I said, a God of completion, of order, and of perfection, amongst other things. Amen. I hope that I did not confuse you guys at all. Sorry, I just try to break it down in three functions, sort of, kind of, with the completeness, with the perfection, and with the order. Knowing me, I'm gonna watch this video again before I post it anyhow. But I love you guys, but the Lord love you guys so much more. Bye.